Good late afternoon, everybody. Hope your day went well. We've got some Seahawks roster news to parse through today. The team actually made a couple of moves. The team made a couple of minor announcements. The team made a couple of pickups. So let's just go ahead and jump right in, starting with a player that we lost, Jordan Simmons, headed to the Raiders. Tom Pelissero reported earlier this morning the Raiders are signing guard Jordan Simmons off the Seahawks practice squad, pending physical per source reinforcements after Denzel Good's injury. So Jordan Simmons was a guy that we had some familiarity with. He had played, he had started games, and he was somebody who I appreciated having on the practice squad, even though we knew he wasn't that good. We also knew he wasn't terrible, and that he was reasonable depth in the event of an injury. And we knew that we were depending heavily on our guard spots being really good this year, so it was nice to have him around. We don't have him around anymore now. Good for him, of course. He gets to go to a team where he's actually going to be active and actually have a chance to play. Whereas right now with us, he didn't, but it's a little bit of a loss. I think Jordan Simmons was somebody who had already realized his upside, which was not very high. But sometimes you don't get all. Sometimes your upside is just an anonymous player in the NFL, and that's fine. So let's go to the roster and go ahead and pull him off for the moment. He will no longer be on our practice squad. So that's the first bit of news today. Um, the other bit of news that is interesting is that we did place a player on injured reserve, but it was not Rashad Penny, which is what I expected. It was Ethan Pocic. Now, it doesn't surprise me that Pocic went on IR, but if I had to pick one Seahawk to go on injured reserve for the next 3 weeks, it probably would have been Rashad Penny. So, uh, Pocic sustained a sprained knee in the opener, and he will be out at least 3 weeks. Carroll said that he hopes he can get back after 3 weeks, but obviously they'll have to reevaluate. So, Ethan Pocic, after like 14 snaps, is now injured, and Shepley is now the backup center, which is a unique opportunity for him, and hopefully he can do something with it. Now, the placing of Pocic on IR actually opens up the roster spot for John Rhattigan, who got promoted to the 53-man roster, I think, late yesterday. Actually signed a 1 year deal, so he's actually going to be part of the active roster going forward. So that's actually really cool, and he's a cool story. So good for him. So he gets promoted up here, and he is no longer part of the practice squad. All right, so good for him. He gets a lot more money this year now. He's going to get the opportunity to play a decent amount on special teams. And clearly, he made an impression on the team because we actually promoted him ahead of Tanner Muse, who is obviously the more talented player. So that's actually kind of a cool story. Army linebacker didn't even know if he was going to be allowed to play in the NFL because of his Army commitment, but he's playing now, and he's making money now, and he has a chance to do stuff for us. All right, now, all this leaves us with a couple of open spots on the practice squad. So the Seahawks decided to utilize their open practice squad slots to pick up three receivers. Well, tight end slash receivers, but it's kind of all the same thing. So we've got tight end Michael Jacobson, who we did bring in earlier this offseason, so he's a familiar name, and wide receiver Connor Weddington, who we had throughout, I believe, the entirety of the offseason. So we know both those guys. We already talked about Jacobson. We already know the team actually liked Weddington coming out of Stanford and felt like he had a future on this team, but he didn't really get to do much in the preseason, so it never manifested itself. So he's back, so that's cool. We know those guys. Daquan Hampton, however, is new. I don't believe he's ever been on this team before. He's been kicking around the NFL for a little while now. He was a USC receiver. He's big, big dude. Almost got that tight end size, 6'4", 225 pounds. Only played 2 years in USC, and he graduated after 2016, so he's actually been out of college football for a while. Only made 22 catches for 240 yards and 2 touchdowns in 2 seasons, so not even really a very productive player in college. So probably not a whole heck of a lot going on here, but he's got some pretty impressive size, and he seems to be capable of playing receiver and tight end. That seems to be a degree of versatility that this team values. So, yeah, these three guys are on. So let's go ahead and toss them on here real quick. D. Hampton goes here. Michael Jakobsen goes here. And who was the last guy? All right, Weddington. And by the way, guys, a lot of people get on me because I put Weddington in the running back part, but I just do it to conserve space, basically. I know he's not really a running back, but I just throw him there because it makes the screen a little more pleasant to look at, and ultimately it doesn't really matter that much. So, new practice squad. Final bit of news from today is injury related. Dwayne Eskridge, or D. Eskridge, is at home today and will not practice. I feel very confident in saying that Eskridge is not going to play this week against the Titans. In fact, there was actually a part of me that thought he might get put on injured reserve just so he can have 3 weeks to get right before he comes back. And we get the extra roster spot from not having Eskridge on the 53 man. But doesn't seem like that's going to happen. However, he was not practicing today, was not even at the facility today. Rashad Penny also did not practice. It seems like we already know that Penny will not be playing against the Titans. And the fact that he didn't go on IR does indicate he could be back next week or the week after. But at this point, it doesn't really matter all that much. The important thing is that we're able to get other running backs up on the active roster in the meantime, like Alex Collins. So it doesn't feel like it really matters that much, but he's not practicing, and I don't think he's going to play this week. However, this is kind of a surprise to me. Penny Hart, who supposedly suffered a concussion against the Colts, did practice today. So that is a pretty positive indicator that he can play. I generally feel like players that suffer concussions do not do not practice until they're ready to play. So this surprises me. Maybe what he got was just more minor than what Dwayne Eskridge seemed to get. I don't know, but possible we have Penny Hart out there against the Titans now. Penny Hart is not a huge player in this offense, more of a special team player than anything else, but with Eskridge out, Hart will probably get more snaps because he's the number 4 with no Eskridge. You got Metcalf, Lockett, you got Swain, and then you're down to Penny Hart. So, still no Josh Gordon stuff, despite the news about the Eskridge not practicing. So, given the fact that we did sign 3 players this week and neither of them were Gordon or Geno Atkins, it might just not be happening right now. I don't know. I'm really surprised about the Atkins thing. I thought he would be in Seattle by now, but maybe we feel like after the way Brian Monet played on Sunday, it's not as big of a deal because Monet balled out. Maybe we feel like we'd rather get LJ Collier out there active one of these weeks, but not happening at the moment. I still expect it to happen eventually, but maybe it's just not going to happen until we actually have the snaps for him. And that's really all the news there is right now with the Seahawks. So a little bit of roster churn, a little bit of injury stuff, and all in all, I think things look pretty good going forward. So I will see you guys later today. Peace out, go Hawks, and yeah, that's what we got.